In this final part of our interview with two PIP board directors, John Burgess and John Singer, they talk about how PIP has evolved over the years and their outlook for the future. Maybe just thinking now about the last 4 years that you've spent on the PIP board, what sort of changes have you seen at PIP during your tenure? And how do you think the company is positioned for the future? John Singer.
Helen, that of course is, one thinks carefully, because changes can happen opportunistically. They can just simply arise. No one is quite sure why they've happened. But that to me is very different. And I assume that the question you're really asking is, what is the conscious and strategic thinking processes that have gone into change at Pantheon? And I have been impressed at board level by the element of such thinking that has gone into deciding how do we want to be what we want to be. And I think maybe the easiest is just give 5 short examples. One is to pursue simplification. And an example of that is the way in which we have changed the sort of dual class of capital structure, which was eliminated in 2017. Simplified, made it easier for all involved. It also hit the second one, which was liquidity enhancement. By qualifying as a result of that simplification process for the FTSE 250, it has actually also created that liquidity enhancement, or enhanced it, which is for the benefit of all. And the third is portfolio enhancement. And I think, we've used that close alliance. We've referred a lot to this alliance with and trust with the GPs and trying to help them with their issues and problems. And one of the ways we've done that increasingly recently is with the increased co-investment and single asset manager-led secondaries. And this is a big trend in our industry. And the sort of direct secondaries investments, enhance the portfolios, are very cost effective. And we're right at the forefront of that through this conscious strategic thinking and our relationship. The next one I would say is the revised sector mix. And this perhaps one would expect the strategic move towards the most resilient industrial sectors, IT and healthcare now receiving huge focus at the Pantheon board. And maybe one that one wouldn't notice so much, except that it is actively pursued at a board level, is what one might call rejuvenation. And through conscious restructuring of that portfolio and thinking about it in a very conscious way, the average life of that portfolio has now been reduced to just over 5 years, which is important because it generates liquidity, which can then be recycled into new opportunities.
Thank you, John. I think that sort of overview of the evolution over the last 4 years is really valuable. John Burgess, turning to you now. How do you think about what's been happening at PIP over the last few years? And if you take your crystal ball out, where do you think the company is positioned for the future?
Yeah, well, I think I sort of come back to 2 key things, which perhaps people don't think about enough in terms of the structure of an investment trust in private equity. One of which is financial resilience. And then the other is the portfolio of opportunities that you're able to see and that, will lead the investments in the future. I mean, if you go back to 2008, the great financial crisis then, quite a number of PE funds went bust, and some of them were investment trusts as well. And the reason for that is the sort of the way the financial flows work in private equity. If you have a crisis, the PE managers don't stop investing. So PIP continues to see calls to meet those, continues to see outflows of funds to meet those calls made by the private equity investors. At the same time, however, because you're in a crisis situation, the PE managers are not making the same number of realizations. So suddenly your cash outflow continues to be as it was before, if not more, to deal with some of the problems in the companies, whereas your cash inflows reduce very substantially. So this issue of balance sheet strength is really important. And PIP came through 2008 well, unlike many others, or quite a number of others. And I think this time round, we can see that PIP has gone through the COVID crisis well as well. Having been through 2008, the board and PIP was well prepared for this and has been disciplined in its investing process and in its financing in the past, almost as it were, to be ready for this kind of situation, because every few years they will come up. The company has been managed, I think, prudently through this crisis and is in a strong position going forwards with a well-balanced portfolio of opportunities coming in and the finance to pursue them as required.
Great, thanks, John. No, I agree that the last year was probably the litmus test of the company's strength and resilience, and I agree that we've come through it together, manager and board, I think, really well. I think it just really leaves me to say that really enjoyed speaking to you both this morning. It's been great to have your insights, the benefit of your long experience. And your vantage point as well, I think, of the industry. So thank you very much indeed for spending time with us, and thank you for all you do on the PIP board as well. Thank you, John Burgess. Thank you, John Singer.
Thank you, Helen.
Great pleasure. Continues to be a great pleasure.